Thank you to the fans, the DJs, the women who rhymed in their mirrors, and the mighty good men who supported us. I want to apologize to the countless fans who got in trouble for cutting their hair like us and singing our lyrics. We love you. To all the guys who had a crush on us and had our posters on the wall, you're welcome. And to Pep and Spin, I love you ladies. Being together again feels so good. We made history. God bless you. Thank you, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Thank you, our super producer, Herbie. Thank you, Jesus. Keep pushing it.
One thing that Jack said, man, Jack is, man, he's one of my favorites, man. We love you, man. But one thing that he said something about little rooms. And we started in a little, little rooms. Great thing to start in little rooms. Yeah, man. That's it.
Long live Uncle Mooney.
Man, I got some very fond memories of Salt-N-Pepa Outkast too. But Salt-N-Pepa came up during the Yo MTV Raps era. And I don't know, besides like the early 2000s, maybe mid-90s hip-hop, man, the mid to late 80s hip-hop, I'm slowly falling back in love with. And a part of late 80s hip-hop was they had a lot of groups. You think about, A Tribe Called Quest. You think about Eric B. and Rakim, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. It was so many groups I felt like during that era. And that was a time of collaboration. And which makes me think about, who are some of the best hip-hop groups of all time? Now, look, y'all. Music is subjective. Everybody got their own taste. Everybody got their own flavor. This is just my top 5 and how I feel. It don't necessarily have to mean that it's, concrete truth for everybody, but it's true for me and what I like. So first off, what's the rubric? I feel like cultural impact and influence, body of work in your discography is very important to me, longevity and consistency, your lasting impact, and your commercial success. How many hits you got? People be wanting to discount that last part, but it's a major part in how people know you and how recognized you are. Number 1, I feel like this group changed everything, and people forget how hip-hop was before Run-DMC came in. I mentioned Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Look how they were dressing as opposed to how Run-DMC was dressing. But I watched a documentary explaining that, like, the guys from that era, they didn't even want Run-DMC to dress like that because that's how guys on the street were dressing. And so back then, early to mid 80s hip-hop, you saw a lot of groups dressing like how the Commodores was dressing, or how Earth, Wind, and Fire was dressing, or how the Isley Brothers was dressing. It was very flamboyant and flashy. And it's like Run-DMC switched everything up. And they got hits by the pound, bro. Some of the most concrete hip-hop songs that built the foundation of what hip-hop is and built it to be a mainstream genre was made by Run-DMC. They was in Crush Groove, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, Crush Groove's about them and Russell Simmons or whatever. You think about Def Jam Records and the legacy that it had in the 80s. And then the worldwide success of Run-DMC. It really put hip-hop on a global stage very early in hip-hop. Hip-hop was like barely 10 years old when Run-DMC was getting hot and becoming a global phenomenon. the business acumen with the Adidas, and just how they transformed how hip hop looked and sounded. Run-DMC is number one for me. Number two, they just got inducted, Outkast. For them to crack the South open how they did during a time when it was just strictly East-West, and the South was really on the underground. People on the underground were listening to like UGK, A-Ball, and MJG. Outkast wasn't typically really underground. They were signing LaFace. So when they came out swinging. And they was on Martin the first time in 94 when they dropped that first single, Players Ball. But like you think about 93, 94, Southern hip hop was really the underdog when it came to mainstream hip hop. It was just New York versus California. So what Outkast was able to do from that standpoint, and the Source Awards during all this madness with East versus West, the South got something to say, and damn it, look, they changed everything. They pushed the envelope and was authentically hip hop with everything they did with Andre 3000, him dressing the way. It was weird watching him dress the way he did and hearing him rap how he did. Because it's like, during that time, people's thinking was, you're hip hop, you're supposed to dress a certain way, baggy clothes, hats, whatever. And the first album, Andre 3000, was dressing like that, your typical hip hop dude. Jersey on, maybe a shirt off. But then the next album came out in 96. And that's when you started to see the transformation of Andre 3000. At the time, I was a young kid, 11, 12, 13 years old, seeing Outkast, but also hearing them. And I was like, yes, they can rap their ass off, but their style is so different. Which, probably opened the doors for Missy to do what she did, for Busta Rhymes to do what he was doing. Outkast, just their music alone, dog, should have them on anybody's top 5. With all the success they done had from being from where they were and all the different sounds that they had, Outkast is on there for me. My next one, N.W.A. Just based on alone, now they only had 2 albums, N.W.A. But the impact that they had within those few years and them 2 albums, it blows almost any other hip hop group besides the ones I just named away. The messages, and it was bigger than hip hop with them. It was a political movement from the streets, of the streets, that spread mainstream. They got the president involved. And then you think about the legacy of each person from N.W.A. as they spread out. They're self-spoken for, man, with Dre and Easy and Ice Cube. It's like they all have their own big-ass hip-hop / entertainment empire. So N.W.A. got to be up there for me. Number 4, Public Enemy. I know the YNs, they going crazy right now if they're even hearing this. But dog, if you look at what Public Enemy did and the things that they were saying and what they were allowed to say, I mean, dog, whenever you talk shit about Elvis in one of your songs and John Wayne, you gonna have them white people upset.
I beg your pardon?
I feel like Public Enemy's message through their music may have matched what N.W.A. was saying. And they was kind of like on the same thing, except Public Enemy was speaking it from a totally different standpoint, from a different coast. So it's like you getting 2 different perspectives of what Black people was going through on both coasts. Both similar, but different though, at the same time. But man, Public Enemy, if you ain't really dove into their lyrics and because sometimes if I'm really into a rapper or a lyricist, I like to read the lyrics as I'm listening to them so I can have a clear understanding. Because that's my thing with lyrics, y'all. I really can't be understanding what they're saying sometimes. I do this all the time. That's why I'm good with cheat songs and parody songs. I was like, they saying one thing, but they're really saying another. I'm like, oh, I thought they were saying this. So yeah, when you go back and you read them lyrics from Public Enemy, man, look, I wonder how they got away with all of that in the 80s, man. And then My last one is going to be controversial, but I don't give a damn because the cultural impact, the influence, the body of work and discography, and their lasting impact, along with the commercial, they fit every single rubric that we have on here. A lot of people ain't going to agree with this, but Migos is on my top 5 groups of all time. Now, am I the biggest fan of Migos music? Absolutely not. I'm not the biggest. Am I a fan of their music? Yeah, I am. I do like Migos music. Look, man, you talking to a DJ in the 20 teens, and if you wasn't playing no Migos in the 20 teens, your party wasn't cracking. The fact that Migos created their own flow, and some people will dispute that. Some people will go back in history and be like, well, nah, man, that's the Migos flow. It's stamped. It's theirs. They created it. And I just feel like their discography and their longevity alone should have them up here. I remember I had an argument with somebody about Migos. What's the difference between Migos and their impact and what they did and A Tribe Called Quest? Now, A Tribe Called Quest, they had their own sound. They had not necessarily their own language, but when you heard A Tribe Called Quest song, you knew it was them. They had their own flavor with it. But Migos, where's the difference? They have their own flavor. They got their own style. And then the cultural impact and the influence. And yes, like hip hop is way more mainstream now than it was back in the day. So maybe, some people look at it as a bit easier to be relevant in this thing, especially when you get married to Cardi B. But you could also make an argument that it's harder to stay relevant now just based on the sheer numbers of everybody having access to the internet or whatever. But I can't name too many groups who've had a cultural impact, influence, body of work, longevity, consistency, lasting impact, and commercial success and hits more than Migos. If you think you got the answers to that, or you want to debate it in the comments, please name those groups in the comments right now. And with that last spot, I was going over Bone Thugs and Harmony, Wu-Tang Clan, even though I didn't really listen to a lot of Wu-Tang growing up. I didn't. I'm a Kansas City kid. It wasn't a whole lot of East Coast records being played here, for real. Of course, Tribe. That was always a debate as being there. Eric B. Rakim. And then others will debate UGK, 8-Ball, MJG, Mobb Deep, 3-6, Salt-N-Pepa. Some might even say the Click or the Roots. So, but who's in your top 5 favorite hip hop groups of all time? Leave them things in the comments and argue and debate down there.
Shut up, bro.